What you have to understand is that the hand is the cutting edge of the mind, that the human system is a cooperative adventure, and you, at your peril, parse things off and separate them. So the whole human body is an ecosystem that thinks. This idea of full mind utilization, engagement of the full possibilities of Homo sapiens as thinking creatures. This is what we're trying to get at.
We have developed an entertainment culture and an advertising culture, a business model that requires people essentially to become consumers of products and consumers of politics,
Yes.
rather than thinkers and actors, is crippling our society, I think, right now.
The people at some deep level have been trained to believe that little old you doesn't really matter at the macro level, because now we can see too much of the world at once, and it is too big.
Our brain just kind of going off on its own, processing information, but not really in service necessarily of where we want to go and what we want to do.
Right. Here's an analogy that most of us use our brains to regurgitate elevator music. Right?
Right.
It's like that's what's happening. That you've got
Right.
on a cycle, it's just repeating itself endlessly.
Right.
The loop.
And Homo sapiens is really an aspirational term,
It is.
because most of us are not really good thinkers.
While we may think that we're making all these rational decisions and logically computing things, in reality, our emotions are making most of our decisions for us in a snap judgment, and then we're rationalizing them after the fact. As human beings, we're plagued by scores of cognitive biases, leaps that skip over logic and often come to inherently wrong conclusions. And if our sound judgment is questioned, well, then we get defensive.
Mostly the brain is used as a buffering organ, that we're always buffering ourselves against inconvenient truths that
Right.
might displace the comfort that we've achieved by deluding ourselves about enough things that we don't have to take action where we'd rather be lazy.
Right.
And so you have to look at the emotional situation that human beings are in and find alternative methods of helping people deal with the emotional challenges. If you actually knew how to use your mind, you could meet those challenges that right now feel so huge that you're overwhelmed by them.
For millions of years, actually not thinking was a mostly acceptable remedy. And then change has become so rapid today that, as you said, we're feeling totally overwhelmed.
I was very idealistic in my childhood, and I was always trying to lay down an anchor in the truth so that I could build from there. And eventually it dawned on me that that wasn't possible. I would never find an accurate paradigm unless it was moving, floating, constantly expanding and evolving as new information came into place. And I can tell you that it's challenging. It can be exhausting, and sometimes you feel lost. But if we can just have faith, not in a belief that someone handed to us, but in ourselves, in our own mind to figure it out, well, then we're closer to truth than we've ever been.
But now is the time to really access the resources we have to meet that.
What we're talking about is you could be a composer. You could be using these tools to create symphonies. The satisfaction level of the creative Homo sapien doing what they were meant to do is unbounded.
And so one of the things we're looking to do is to really help people identify and live out their motivation to think more clearly. The future of my family, my own future, and the future of the planet depends on my willingness to be uncomfortable enough to actually think through the real life problems that all of us face.
The engagement with this full-bodied thinking apparatus is a pleasure that is so profound that it really takes you into that next realm of what we call the Homo sapien 3.0.
Excellent.
In
yeah.
which we are really living the potential of who we were meant to be.